Okay, what we're looking at here is the back of the engine and the mid plate. And the back of the engine and the mid plate have to match up exactly because that determines the alignment of the drive shaft. And one of the things we found when we did our fitment was that it did not. In fact, if I pan down here, what you're going to see is the gap between the back of the engine and the mid plate opens up. And we can't have that. The front support plate determines how the back of the engine interfaces with the mid plate. And what we want is that back of the engine to be flat against the mid plate. And the way I can get the bottom of the engine to come up against the mid plate is by removing material from the notch in the mid plate so that the front of the motor drops, and that would mean the back of the motor would drop and become flush with the mid plate. I don't have the saddle underneath the front support plate, which is going to raise the front of the engine even more, which means I have to remove more material. So the hole that holds the saddle in place is going to move also. So hopefully there's enough material here to grind some away to drop the front of the engine enough to accommodate the saddle and have the back of the engine come up flush against the mid plate. I hope that makes sense. This is the engine that we pulled out of the dragster, and the front plate has on it the saddles that are supposed to sit on the frame. I don't even have those saddles underneath the front plate, and the engine is still too high in the front. So what I need to do is to take these saddles out, put them underneath the front plates on the engine that's in the dragster, and see how wide that gap is. And then what I'm going to have to do is remove material from the bottom of the front plate so the back bottom of the engine drops down and becomes flush with the mid plate. I pulled the engine out of the dragster and believe I have found one of the problems. This plug, actually there's two of them, is protruding out of the back of the engine and is hitting the engine plate. And obviously it cannot sit flush against the mid plate with that plug like that. And that plug has plenty of depth. So what I'm going to do is just grind the top of the plug off so that it is flush. So here we go. Okay, we've solved one problem and found another. The plug that holds the cam in the back of the engine protrudes slightly. Well, it may just be the sealer that protrudes slightly. After a call to the engine builder, he gave me permission to grind it off. So that's what we'll do. Just take a very light grind to it. Any concerns that the plug would come out can be dispelled when you know that the plug sits right up against the mid plate and it is now flush. So now it's time to test fit the saddles. In order to get that hole to line up, I have to take material out. Huh. All right. Well, that's a good thing. That really couldn't have worked out any better. Because what that really means is now I can grind material off that front plate. And when I grind the material off the front plate, the bolt's going to go into the hole. So this is the first of many times we're actually going to try to test fit the engine after we have made some modifications to see if we can make it fit better. So in it goes. Sitting right there. So this engine has been fighting me at the end. It really shouldn't work that hard. And what I decided to do is to put a bolt into the mid plate and pull it up tight. I'll pull the motor to the mid plate, and if you watch closely, you'll actually see the motor move back to the mid plate. So watch closely. There it goes. Oh, that's pretty nice. Still a little bit. So now we're moving the bolts from the middle of the mid plate to the top of the mid plate. Not bad, not bad. So what this does is create the worst case scenario. If there's going to be a gap, it'll happen now. It's still a little bit of a gap, and I still got to put these saddles underneath. The reason it'll happen now is because it's hanging from the top bolts. So I put that saddle underneath. Okay, let's take a look. Well, the only way to really check it is to get some feeler gauges. Let me show you. This is actually about the third time it's been in now, and I've been grinding a little bit off of the front plate, so it's going to be closer. Well, it makes it look a lot worse than what it is. Okay, I cannot get a 30 thousandths feeler gauge in there. 30 thousandths won't fit. That's 15 thousandths, and it goes in. That's 21 thousandths, and it does not. So we're pretty close. I got to put the saddles under the front yet. So we'll have to take some off those front plate, but not anywhere near as much as what I thought. I probably could get away with that, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put the saddles in, and I'll put a mark on the front plate, and I'll grind right to the line, and we'll try another test fit. So guess what? Out it comes again. This thing actually went in and out at least a dozen times. I won't put you through all that though. If I did, this video would be an hour or two long. So I'll just show you selected ins and outs. Now we're going to go really lightly, and we want to go to the line. Leaving the line. What I'm showing you here is there is a weld between the bracket and the saddle. And what I have to do is put a little radius on the back side of the front plate so that saddle will fit it flush. Just so you know, the front plate doesn't really sit on the saddle. The motor is supported by the bolt that holds the saddle in place. So what's important is the bolt, not the saddle. There can actually be a little gap between the saddle and the front plate. Here we're doing a little test fitting and fine tuning of the grinding on the front plate. And now that we've removed material from the front plate, the bolt goes through. Remember, it didn't fit. Now that we have removed material, it does fit. So now that we got the saddles on, it's time for another test fit. You know what that means? It means I gotta put the motor back into the dragster once again. And I gotta tell you, I really did do this a dozen times. So, here we go again, into the dragster. And it will fight me again. And it took me until the last time to think about how to make it easier. And I did make it easier, and it was a simple thing. So wait and see. Too low, and too high. So we got to bring it back up. That lifting fixture and being able to level the engine out really helps. So we're going to use the bolt to bring the engine back up against the engine plate. And if you watch, you'll see it move. There it went. Goes in. When it doesn't, let's try the other side. Okay. 20 does not go in. 12 doesn't go in. 12 goes in right at the bottom. Okay, so I've gotten a little tired of struggling putting this motor in. So I'm going to hone out the holes in the midplate for the pins in the bell housing to line the transmission up. It's not going to take much, but we'll run the hone through the hole just to widen it up a little. And if I don't miss my bet, that should be enough. So a V number drill goes in with just a little bit of slot. A W won't go in at all. So we'll try a W. Okay. Now, I'm going to leave it a little sloppy so I can sit down, and we'll do the other side. Okay, it can go up a little bit. All right. Okay, let's put that in and see what we got. Hopefully it's the last time. Well, maybe the last time, but it'll be the last time for this purpose. Simple as that. And it's in. Perfect. Hone it out a little bit. Slides right in. And as you can see, the dowel pins are fully engaged. So a little honing helps right out. Okay, let's see what we got. Let's try 10 thousandths. Doesn't go in. Does not go in. So that's 10 thousandths. Let's try 4 thousandths. And that one goes in there. But it doesn't go in there. It doesn't go in there. Doesn't go in there. Doesn't go in there. Doesn't go in there. I think we're good. Nope. It just 4 thousandths goes in at the bottom on that side. 4 thousandths goes in on that side, but won't go in there. So way at the bottom it'll go in, but move up a little bit, it doesn't. I think we're good. I'm just going to tighten those front saddles down, and we've got this engine fitting the way it should. So let's tighten the saddles down. So, believe it or not, the only thing that holds the front of this motor to the dragster is that clamp. That's all that holds that front of the motor to the dragster. And what that means is that the midplate is what takes all the stress. And the motor's in. Ta-da! So if you like this video, please click the like and have a good day.